Hello, everyone. Welcome to Symbaroum here on Telling Tales. It's been a little while, but we're back with some more. Just as I've noticed that we're marked as talk shows and podcasts, which we are not. We are tabletop role playing. And you know what? I am bizarrely inept enough on Twitch that I literally don't know how to edit stream info. There we go. Let's remove that. Let's give ourselves a more appropriate category so all you talk show and podcast enthusiasts don't. The last thing we'd want is more people arriving on the stream, right? So there we go. That's all fixed. Okay. So yeah, it's been a little while, but here we are. We don't really do loads of intro stuff here anymore. So I'll just give you the very briefest overview of what's happening on the channel at the moment. First off, this is obviously Symbaroum on a Wednesday. Symbaroum is moving back to a sort of weekly format now. The only exception to that will be the weeks that Yellow King is running, to give Sam and myself a bit of a more of a break on those weeks. I mean, I say break. Those are incredibly intense weeks for me, but to reduce that intensity slightly, that includes next week. So weirdly, my announcement is Symbaroum is going back weekly. We won't be on next week. But there we go. Live with that. Yellow King is hopefully going to slot back in on a monthly basis. So that should mean only once every 4 or 5 weeks would we miss a Symbaroum if all is going well. Mass of Nyarlathotep, Call Cthulhu, is on Mondays. That's on an aspirationally weekly basis, although life gets in the way of these things, as we know. We're looking to do a one-shot in June. Yeah, June. So hopefully things will be ramping up pleasantly a little bit again. Also, there's going to be a big retooling of our Patreon over the next couple of weeks. Some very different things on offer there because it's safe to say most of the stuff we've offered on Patreon has failed miserably at being executed properly. So there we go. But new things on offer, including some exciting text actual play, some newsletter nonsense. So yeah, when that's done, I'll mention it on the stream so people can go check it out if they're interested. That was a big, long intro for saying we don't do big, long intros anymore. But there we go. Let's start bringing on the damn players, shall we? And as usual, we're going to start with Chris. Hey, Chris. How are you?
Sure. Yeah. Damn player, apparently.
Absolutely. Chris plays Steo. Former town guard / infantryman turned adventurer and sort of I don't know, how would we describe like the environmental consciousness of the group? I don't know. Is that a thing? I don't know.
Pragmatic lazy in my 5-dimensional, slightly problematic D&D alignment chart.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah. Well, I feel like talking about like how the characters are doing. You know what? We're going to do that when everyone's on screen because I feel like we're going to have to kick off with sort of a state of the world / party thing because there's some decisions to be made. So in the meantime, I'll just keep adding players, starting again with Stephen, coming to us from a smartphone inside a shoebox, and I'm not exaggerating. Stephen plays Alindra, former Templar novice turned hacker of things with a big sword. I mean, that's what Templars do anyway. Stephen, how are you apart from being in a smartphone in a shoebox?
Apart from that, I am fine. We're having an exciting technology week, so we'll see how it goes. I hope that you've not got like detailed maps and charts and such this week because I can barely see anything. But that's okay.
When do I ever have stuff like that? You know, now you won't be able to see the awful drawing I make that looks like genitals. So
I'm gonna have to just watch it back on the VOD later then.
Yeah, just to get the full impact.
Yeah.
Okay, let's roll out the next player. It's John. John as always, plays Arendar, the dueling and cat-owning, slightly naive heart of the party thing. Sure.
He's not the brains.
He's definitely not the brains. He's definitely not. He is kind of the mouth, even though he's bad at it.
He's not bad at it. I'm bad at it. He's slightly above average at it, according to his stat sheet.
Well, fair enough. He's definitely the best in the group at it, which it's not a party strength. But there we go. So how are you, John?
I'm
yes,
good. I
Good.
just ate some rhubarb crumble.
I mean, that's good news.
Yeah.
Yeah. And on that note, someone famous for his relationship to rhubarb. It's
start
I don't know. I'm struggling. Sam plays Askarai, changeling, ranger, scout, archer, pure burst DPS monster. Sam, how are you? For a start, you're on mute. Oh, he's frozen. Oh my god. Give it a moment. He literally joined the stream and everything collapsed. There he is. He's moving again, but he's still silent. Can't hear you. Can't hear a word, I'm afraid, Sam. And it's definitely not in StreamYard. Oh, he's investigating. For people just listening, right now, Sam is... Oh.
You're now muted on StreamYard, so we don't know.
I do appreciate the narration here because obviously we can't hear Sam and I can't see anyone.
You can't see it. We are professionals.
So the narration's really helpful.
We are professionals. Sam has jumped off. Hopefully he will jump back on with... I remember this happening before, that like he just jumped off and jumped back on and all of a sudden his mic worked. So maybe that will happen. Who knows? Oh. Why don't we have more viewers? I can't figure it out. But people like scrappy, underdogs, right? We're underdogs.
I think we're the largest Symbaroum stream.
We are the largest Symbaroum stream.
Oh.
Yeah.
What?
There are barely any other Symbaroum streams. That's why. But I don't know if we're the largest. We certainly were a couple of years ago.
If we're underdogs, what size of underdogs are we?
Delightful in-joke callback there, coming in from the left field there from Stephen. Fantastic. You can tell it's been a good one, as you can see the life draining out of Matt's face.
Yeah, as Steve says in chat, two underdogs strapped together.
Yeah. I can't see Matt's face or Steve's comment.
We can hear Sam.
Right. My apologies.
That's all right. How are you, Sam?
I'm doing great after a brief moment of extreme stress when my microphone suddenly wasn't working. Also, I have no rhubarb, so roller coaster at the moment.
This stream is so far a disaster in all ways. Technical problems. Sam doesn't have any rhubarb. John does have rhubarb. That's an uneven rhubarb distribution.
No, I had rhubarb. That's a very important
through
distinction.
The top of my camera to get some rhubarb.
Yeah, hand it down.
The direction we all reach in for our rhubarb. Reach up to the sky, grasp rhubarb. Okay, let's move forwards and away with speed from this. So, the briefest of recaps. It might not be that brief. So, you're in Indaros, the capital of Ambry. You've had various other adventures before this, most of which seem to lead you in the metaphorical direction of the lost city of Symbar, deep within the forest of Davakar. You arrived in Indros partly from sort of coincidence and partly out of a sense of maybe trying to track down some more of these clues towards Symbar in the ruins underneath Indros. But instead, you've kind of been sidelined. You were sidelined because during a royal wedding rehearsal, a big goddamn meteor slammed into the ground, corrupted the entire area, possessed lots of people with fire spirits, lots of death, lots of destruction. And you were tasked with finding out what the hell was going on by the only real survivor from inside the cathedral, the Sun Duchess Esmeralda. You followed a number of tracks and trails since then, partly under the auspice of this sponsorship of Esmeralda, but honestly, we're kind of almost moving a little bit away from that and towards your own set of curiosities, and also some I guess responsibility to the safety of the realm, ? You went and found the prisoner who had been held under the cathedral and had been spirited away during the chaos. That prisoner turned out to be the head of the Order of Dukovnik, the Dark Lords who committed horrible atrocities / genocide on the country of Alberator, where Ambrians came from before they had to flee as refugees over the Titan Mountains. This came as a bit of a surprise to you that Kalthar was still alive and had been held safely by Queen Corinthia for the last 25-ish years. Nevertheless, you managed to negotiate some information out of him and have just returned him to the Royal Secretorium under the care, again, of the Queen. You also have in your possession two adepts of the Order Magica who were involved in this plot, albeit they didn't seem to know quite what they were getting into, and you've had kind of like back and forths over what to do with them, because you're absolutely 100% sure that if you hand them into either branch of House Kohinoor that you're involved with, they will be horribly and brutally tortured and then executed, probably, for their involvements in this. And you're not quite sure if they deserve that, but you're also quite not sure if you... It seems like you're hovering around, like, do we have the right to decide and let them go, or do we... It's a quandary. There are also a number of other threads which you have to follow. There was a mysterious individual at the cathedral that you have not yet identified, beyond being able to find where they were staying in the city, finding out that they were kind of a weird individual who had some kind of obsession with their Dark Queen. But that's kind of where that ended. You also know, or are fairly sure, that you'd seen this individual before on the plateau of Karvosti in an unusual kind of role. And maybe you could go research that a bit. You've had a bit of learning about ceremonial magic and what some elements of what that might take to perform such a grand ritual to bring down the meteor onto the cathedral. But there's various bits and pieces out there that are proving difficult to get a hold of. You have basically two leads on that at the moment. There has been mention of the name Artel. Artel, from your inquiries, is a pyromancer who worked a colossal bit of ceremonial magic back in the war and ended up killing a lot of people, although more Dark Lords and undead, and was basically disgraced for this and ended up being... most people think he was executed or imprisoned or something. On top of that, you talked to your friend Ganderald, who said he would try and secure you an audience with the Order Magica's ritual master, in order that you might ask more questions about ceremonial magic and maybe get more information. And then beyond that, other than your general inquiries into, Lindaros and the ruins underneath Indaros and all that stuff, which has definitely been put on the back burner for now. There is also the question that more than one individual that you found at the cathedral who seemed to be working as part of this plot was wearing a symbol or carrying a symbol of House Vearra, House Kohanor's oftentimes primary rival for the throne of Ambria. You have not as yet pursued this lead at all. I think partly because of the time pressure for securing the prisoner, and partly because you were like, it feels a bit like they're being stitched up. But you're not entirely sure on that, because a couple of the things felt a bit over the top and planted, but other bits, like there was at least one thing that was definitely legit in that it was a note left with them as instructions. So you don't really know what to do with that. On top of that, there's all kinds of shit going on with the city. There's an expanded city watch who've been granted extraordinary circumstantial powers. And when did that ever go wrong? This morning, the legate from the elves, Ilori, their chambers, their apartments were attacked. People were killed. The legate himself is missing. It's all a bit crazy here in the city. Yeah, and you've got 2 places you're calling home because you're trying to work the odds of being like caught, basically. Yeah. That's about everything, right? I don't normally give a big long one like that, but we've been off for a little bit. One of us is working without notes and with like paper and dice and all that retro shit. So there we go. I'm going to have you walk out of the Royal Secretarium. And I think I'm just going to hand it over to you because I honestly don't know what you're doing and what's happening for this. Oh, yeah, and a couple of you are proper banged up. So there's that as well.
Steo will say the catch for his pint.
Best way to celebrate not being executed.
That's the best way to decide what it is that we need to do next.
Yeah.
There was a bar around here we were at previously, wasn't there? Near the mages. Didn't recall.
The places you've had a drink since this began, you can just have a drink at Zoltar's Inn, where the place you stayed last night, the bottom floor is just like for drinking. The place you were drinking right at the beginning, when all of this kicked off, is called, it's got a fancy name if I recall correctly. Where is it? It is called, I can't remember what it's called. It's surely it's on here. Yes, it must be on here. No, maybe. Who knows?
It's okay for me not to remember the name of it, but can I remember roughly where it is? Because I suggest we go there.
The place, the fancier place you went to drink right at the start
to meet the incredibly useless
contact. Yeah. Yeah.
Wasn't okay.
Sure.
I thought that was more. I remember that being more like a kind of a restaurant than okay.
I could get some snacks.
Where did we leave the Ordo Adepts? Did we leave them at the place that we stayed last night with Revelia keeping guard?
Yep.
Yes,
you did indeed, and it's called Victory's Vault. The name of the inn.
Sorry for making you do some archaeology to find that.
That's all right. The Victory Vault.
So,
why is there a reason that we want to go to Victory's Vault rather than go to Zoltar's, where we know there's some people we need to keep an eye on upstairs. Look,
at this stage, I'm going to respond to that Semi in character. At this stage, I'm pretty sure we're being followed, and I know you're all going to tell me to stop being paranoid, but I'm going to ask maybe some people could start being paranoid. Keep old Steo company.
Fine.
Did we not tell them that we were staying at Zoltar's last?
You told. So Esmeralda knows you're staying at the tower.
Yeah.
And the Secretorium, and therefore the Queen, know that you're staying at Zoltar's Inn.
But also we're probably in their good books right now, and if they were to go there and raid our rooms and find those two there, then we would probably be able to explain that, in the sense of we didn't want to bring them to the palace. So I think we've got, on that front, we probably have a little bit of grace.
Yeah.
But we also know that the Duchess's friend does not always entirely respect closed doors, and that perhaps if we could avoid leading them, that may be a good idea.
Let's get a pint at a neutral place that is not somewhere where we're staying, that's nearby, that we can talk this out.
Victory's Vault, then. Okay.
Yeah.
You walk through the city. You have to pass two places as you do so. The first is the Elven Legate. You pass, and there's kind of smoke still coming out of some of the windows. There are several guards stood outside, kind of keeping people away from it. But there is a small crowd that has gathered and is peering at the building curiously. Chris?
May I ask what kind of guards? Legit or Temu?
They have proper up-to-date uniforms. Yeah.
Okay.
They're not just like there's basically a lot of the town guards have just have the new ones just have like roughly made tabards over their normal clothes with like a daubing that looks like the arms of Indros on them. These are proper ones.
But they also have a symbol. Didn't they have an armband or something? A symbol that shows that they're part of the co-opted mercenary corps or whatever it was, or am I misremembering that from?
You're remembering that from the bell tolls for Castor.
Okay.
Very long time ago. That's when I can remember it anyway.
That's all. That's the only information I wanted to mine from that.
Okay. Well, then you walk past the Legate, and you also walk past the tower on your way to Victory's Vault, and then you arrive at Victory's Vault. It is sorry, John, what were you going to say?
I was going to say, as we're walking, Aaron, like, this thought will occur to him as he's walking, and he'll maybe look around if he doesn't already know the answer. Does Aaron either know or have an idea of where the highest point in Indaros is?
I mean, the city, not the palace, because the answer is the palace.
Yeah, not that.
But if you just mean the city,
the highest point that Aaron thinks Aaron can get to.
Let's have a look. I think it okay. I mean, the answer was the Cathedral of Mars. The tower is certainly up there. Just from looking at this map image. I mean, there's I think it might be the tower. Oh, well, okay. The answer is the triple towers of the Ordo Magica.
Okay.
Then formerly the Cathedral of Martyrs. Then the tower. So you're unlikely to be let into the triple towers. So, the tower.
Okay.
Although you can't go to the top floor. Not without sneakery or persuading. Because those aren't where your rooms are. But they're pretty high up. I mean, the answer to your question is Your room's in the tower. That's probably the highest place you can get to in Inderos. Yeah.
Okay. I'll file that away.
Okay.
Thank you.
Then shortly after that, you find yourself a Victory's Vault. Obviously, you've been here once before. Some great memories of that. You walk in. It's looking a little more shambolic than it was the first time you were in here. If you remember, all the windows shattered because it was kind of close enough to the cathedral with enough of you that the shockwave blew them in. And they're currently in the process of reglazing. So there are workmen all over the place while they're doing this. But you can still go in and have a drink. They've sort of opened up an inner room that was, like, you think, a place for people to stay or a place for functions. And now it's a more general place that people can sit a little further away from the sound of hammers and glass and all that kind of thing. There aren't too many people in there because it's first thing in the morning as well. And this is an upmarket tavern, so there's probably not that much.
Yeah, I think we'll just grab a seat in there. I'll summon some kind of serving person and request a plate of meats for the table and a round.
These arrive with relative swiftness.
I'll give them some money and send them on their way. Right. Oh, I hate this city already.
So I've had a thought, because Kalthar said that the ceremony site would be obvious and probably large and likely not in the city.
Mm-hmm.
So I was wondering if maybe we could get up really high and see as far as we can and see if we can find the ceremony site. Because it's probably not that far, right?
Well, didn't he say it could be basically wherever? I don't think that's a bad idea. Because
it had to be somewhat close, because Artel had to be there to perform the ceremony, and not that much longer afterwards was in the plob. So it has to be within a day's ride, less than that.
Four glasses, whatever they were. Because that's how long he told everyone to wait for him, didn't he, in the notes?
Well, we know someone who'd know how long a glass was.
Didn't the adept say that he had already been back by the time that we got there?
Yeah.
Yes.
Have we asked the adepts if they know where the ceremony happened?
They do not, and we did.
I don't think they know, but they will know. They will know how long he had. It's not. I think it's worth seeing what we can see.
Given that we've been told it would be so disruptive where it happened, it's strange that no news has reached the city of, I don't know, some kind of catastrophic event happening somewhere nearby.
What if it was underground, though?
Maybe it would end up having to be more catastrophic than a giant rock falling on the cathedral.
I would like to have Anton interject with a point that you rightly raised while I was calculating something. So rewind the conversation slightly for this. But Sam, could you give me a cunning roll for Anton, please?
Yes. Hang on. That is a pass. You rolled a 7.
Anton says, it does seem that the individual we are looking for, Artel or no, is very adept at in the field of wizardry. There are many things I've read of that say that those who are masters of that study have ways of transporting themselves over distances that do not involve feet or horses.
And
Great.
I guess we can
Back to
confirm
Dave.
that from a sufficiently high vantage point. But that might explain why we haven't heard of any other disasters.
Aaron, would you happen to know where's the nearest big house Vearra spots? Where's their lands?
You mean their main? I mean, they have a house in the noble district.
No,
You might
like
I could expect you to have a bit more information than that. Arendar, though, why don't you give me a cunning roll at +3?
I just need to. Oh, I did not load my character sheet. That was silly of me. That's a fail.
Okay. Well, you don't know that, although it would be extremely easy to find that out, should you wish to.
I think you had already told us at some point, Matt, that there was a big, notable House Vearra residence in the city.
You know,
if that was...
no, I was trying to find something else as well.
Okay.
There will be, like all the major houses, there will be a representative estate of theirs in the kind of the area of the city set aside from it, which is just north of the south, actually, just south of where the Cathedral of Martyrs is/was. But no, you know what? You lived in Inderos for a number of years, John. I know you failed the cunning roll, but on looking at the map, I think it would be very silly if you didn't know this. The next town to the west of Inderos is called along the river is called Vearra.
Ah.
It is very likely that someplace between there or near there or between there and Inderos is the seat of like Count Vearra. You would have to imagine. Having said that, like a lot of nobles who live that close to Inderos spend most of their time at their estates in Inderos. So if you did want to visit it, it's probably about a 15-minute walk from here. Like you're in the right part of the city for it.
Well, I assume their lands are not that far away, but if that's the case, then they probably spend most of their time here.
Yeah, but
do you see the temple district marked there and the southern temple district?
Yes.
At the bottom left of that map. That is where the like noble estates are in Inderos.
Well, the assumption is they wouldn't be launching the ritual from here. They'd be doing it further away. My assumption is that if we get to a high point and we look towards that town, if my theory's right, we'll see a smoking ruin. Then we'll have something to investigate.
And if we don't, then we know that he had access to some of these transporting magics, perhaps. We definitely have some things that we need to investigate. We need to find out more about the ceremony in general. We need to find out about House Vearra's connection. But I feel like the most immediate priority is our two guests, what we do with them, because doing the wrong thing here could be very dangerous indeed. My instinct is to turn them over to House Cohenor in either Esmeralda or the Queen. We can
tell you what,
we can try to make the case for them. I know that it is unlikely to make much difference. It's a brutal thing to do, but I think compassion looks a lot like trying to take justice into our own hands, and I don't think we have the right to do that.
I'm going to tell you what I'd like to do with them, and you're all going to tell me to shut up and that's a stupid idea, but I'm okay with that. I want to hand them over to the elves. We've already stored a few ne'er-do-wells with the elves. But I can't think of a way to do it, so I don't think it's a goer.
Why would we do that?
The elves are good at rehabilitating people from what we've seen so far. It might be useful. It's better than handing them over to an almost certain execution.
Are they good at they're good at harboring people, but usually people that align with their plans.
Yeah, you're right. But
I think handing them to the elves would just be a more complicated death sentence. I suspect, but who knows what they would do.
Yeah, and like I said, I don't have a way to do it. I just figured it would be a good way to solve a problem.
The only other option that I could see would be handing them over to the Ordo Magica. If it ever got out that we had done that, I think we would be for the gallows, and I think we might also create a schism between the Crown and Ordo Magica.
What about we go and rescue Revelia from her fate, and you let me tie them up with the best knots I know how, and we all go for a nice pint somewhere else.
And
another pint?
Anton, at this stage, my thirst for pints is rapidly approaching dangerous levels.
Do want to say that wasn't Anton, that was me. I was wondering if we were going to spend this entire session in the back room of different pubs.
Sure.
Theo, are you suggesting what I think you're suggesting, which is just that?
Absolutely not.
What is he suggesting?
I think he's suggesting that in tying the best knots he can possibly tie, his knot craft might not be the best. And if they were to disappear, that could hardly be our fault, could it? And I don't think House Cohenor would take that view if that ever got out.
I also think that they're involved with people who surely would want to kill us. And if they were just free to do what they want, they would probably run back to that crowd of people and tell them exactly who is responsible for killing loads of, all kinds of things that we've done.
They both seem repentant. Well, at least they seemed repentant once it became clear that we had the ability to kill them.
But even repentant, I don't imagine they would risk going back to the Ordo Magica, which means their only real option as a place to go is to the people who they've been working with up until now. Is what I would, if I was them, I wouldn't go back to the Ordo Magica where I may be killed or would certainly be kind of outcast and treated very, very poorly. I'd go find someone who I felt would be sympathetic and would try to help me, which would be, the people we're working against.
Which raises another idea. What if we released them and then followed them. They sounded like they didn't want to go back to Artel, but maybe Artel wants to track them down.
That's a good excuse if anyone catches us releasing them as well. It's like, no, we had a plan. We were going to do sneaky stuff.
It's interesting.
We had them and we let them go.
Had them and we let them go to follow them?
Yeah. No, I think that might be a goer.
The only issue
go
is, as we've discussed, some people in the Order Magica may be able to transport themselves by other means, which would make following them. I don't know if they're at that level. I don't know what level you need to be as a kind of magic guy.
I suspect that it's within Artel's or whoever this is responsible for this, but we think Artel. I suspect it's within their power to disappear these two from wherever, like that. I can't find an idea that makes more sense to me than handing them over either to Esmeralda or to Queen Corinthia. I'll like if the majority here feels different, I'll go along with it. But that's where I am. I think they need to be handed in.
We also want to be careful.
This may seem out of character for me. I think we have two options. We let our sympathies lead us, cut their chains, set them loose, and be done with it. Or we take them to the only people who I feel in this city right now have as much or greater a chance as us of tracking down the people who have slaughtered hundreds of innocents. And that is House Kohinoor and the Secretorium. Whether that be through Esmeralda or the Secretorium itself. I understand that they made a mistake and allied themselves with the wrong people. But there's more at stake for this than us and our position in the politics of Indaros and even our lives, is there not? If this Artel remains free, who is to say that he will not do the same again?
Artel absolutely needs to be found and caught. And I think the only thing that could persuade me that they shouldn't be handed over to House Kohinoor would be an alternative plan that we felt stood a better chance of us being able to find and somehow apprehend
I
him.
think that releasing them on the off chance that they run straight to Artel's house is...
I don't buy it.
And what if they don't? We have to capture them again?
I do agree that the sensible option here is probably to release them to Esmeralda. I think that we, from our point of view, part of our ability to do our job involves not having too many people on our back. We've done enough to get the Queen off our back by returning her prisoner. If we hand these mages over to Esmeralda, then that may be enough to keep her off our back and relatively happy, despite the slight betrayal of returning the prisoner to the Queen.
My problem with that is we're handing the two people who know who the third person was over to the person who would have much rather that the third person came to them and not otherwise. If we're fine-tuning this plan, I'd rather just toss them over the wall to Kohinoor directly.
Theo has it. You have a really good point, Theo. There is to play devil's advocate with one possible counterpoint, it's tidier to send them to Corinthia. That limits the flow of information and knowledge to the people that already have some understanding of the situation, and doesn't bring in Esmeralda, who we don't know what she knows and what she doesn't know. The thing is, if Calthar is to be believed, Corinthia perhaps has some wayward tendencies towards darkness, and perhaps involving Esmeralda might provide some counterbalance to that.
If Calthar's fears are grounded, perhaps handing over 2 individuals who could lead Corinthia towards further knowledge of ceremonial magic might not be the best thing.
Yes.
Esmeralda and her agent both certainly seemed to think that they could operate as well as, if not better than, the Secretorium.
And we might find ourselves having to explain that, yes, we knew that Calthar existed, and yes, we handed Calthar over to Esmeralda's sister, and that might be a difficult conversation, but at least we were able to bring Esmeralda something rather than nothing.
Esmeralda did not request for Calthar to be returned. She just wished for those responsible.
That's true.
Calthar definitely was not that, and he was her sister's prisoner.
That's true.
And he wished to be returned to her.
Yes. We can make that case. Absolutely.
Also, the mages don't know who Calthar was.
This is true.
They'll know that we had a 3rd prisoner. They'll know it was a prisoner that Artel was interested in. But they don't know anything about him. And they'll probably know that he wasn't the cause.
I feel like whatever we are doing, a decision must be made. There are other things that we must pursue.
There are other things. Let's take them back to the tower and arrange for them to be picked up by Esmeralda. You've all swayed me.
I suspect if we take them back to the tower and leave them with Revelia, when we return, they will no longer be there.
Yes.
For better or worse, that matches what we need to happen. Okay.
Perhaps we could leave them with a letter that attempts, from our point of view, to argue the case for leniency, both on the grounds of the fact that they were deceived and are naive and remorseful, but also from the grounds that they might yet provide useful information. At least that way we've made an attempt to make the case for them.
I will pen something.
Thank you.
He's probably the best.
Yeah.
Pens.
Is this agreeable to everyone?
Are we certain that they don't know who Calthar is?
No.
Calthar expressly would only talk to you when they were not near him.
That is true.
And they claimed that they did not know who he was.
So this also gives us an opportunity to get reasonably high up the tower and have a look around to see if there's any fell news on the horizon. I think.
So, I did do various calculations on this. Okay, but I will not tell you. But I will because you don't know where you're looking for. But if you're interested, you said you were interested in looking like in the direction of Vearra lands. Vearra is 50 kilometers away. I will leave it up to you as players and characters to sort of judge whether you think that like the height of the tower would allow you to see something that may be 50 kilometers or more away.
How high is the tower?
Hmm?
How high is the tower, roughly?
I think. Did I say it was 10 stories? Something
I think
like
we
that.
were on the 8th story. I seem to recall.
Yeah. I am judging you're about 100 feet up.
I am going to abstain from this entire puzzle because I have background knowledge in this field, which means I can answer this off pat.
To see 50 kilometers. Oh, I mean, I know this, but I don't know whether Aaron would know this.
Well, yeah, exactly. Okay, well, let's step out from the. You would not. Is the answer to the question from a, out of character point of view.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I would say Aaron Dar will probably be fairly sure he can't see the town of Vearra from the top. Like, not like he's not going, well, it's 50 kilometers, and he's not doing the calculus.
Yeah.
He's just like, I can't see Vearra from here. That's silly.
That's super.
Did you say would be 100 feet up?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
If you are, yes, you can see about 20 kilometers from 100 feet up.
Yeah,
I guess the reality is we'd just go and look, and then we would immediately see, like, we can't see the town. I guess we can't see the town. Like,
we're going there anyway. We'll have
as well look.
Okay, so I'm happy to hand wave over you. So let me get this right. You go to Zoltar's Inn. Revelia is there with your prisoners. All fine.
So.
All aboard. You've only been gone like 3 or so hours. You get them ready to go. You march them through the town. Again, probably past a few groups of new City Watch who are definitely looking at you with far more curiosity than they were yesterday about, they're looking at you in a much more speculative fashion than they were before. It feels like things are getting tenser, right?
Can we make sure before we take them out that they've got hoods on and that they're not like wearing or carrying any obvious Ordo symbols?
Yep, sure.
So they can look like prisoners, but just not any particular prisoners.
Yeah.
Right.
It's all good. You proceed to the tower. You rise up the tower on the ogre-powered elevator. And into your rooms where fresh things have all been laid out, but you haven't been here for a couple of days, day and a half, something like that. There is nothing untowards here in any way. And Anton sets himself to writing a letter to, the agent of the Sun Duchess, where he expresses, if leniency can be found for these individuals, they were deceived, they were naive, they are remorseful, etc. Then, all these sentiments. And once he's done, he stands up and he says, I assume young Revelia is staying behind with them in case some of us should be here.
I think so.
He passes the letter to Revelia, who kind of nods and this is all. The prisoners have been closed in one room. You're having this discussion without them over here. Like, have they been told?
I don't think so.
It's probably for the best, to be honest.
We did. I don't think we gave them any false hope, particularly that we were going to let them go. But I think we did kind of say that in exchange for cooperation, that we would do our best to make the case for leniency, which is what we're doing.
Yeah. No, it's okay. I just needed a yes or no on whether they've been told.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I think they already knew.
Okay, so with that in mind. I was like, what story thread should we go to? An hour on deciding what to do with the prisoners. What are we now going to do? Oh, you wanted to
I'm going to look out the window.
To the west. Yeah, I mean, even if it was just a smudge on the horizon, you're fairly sure you would kind of be aware roughly of seeing the town of Vearra from up here. You're somewhat familiar with the landscape around Indros. You cannot see the town of Vearra in any way, shape, or form. And I'm going to here's something I'll give you for free. You think you can see less than halfway to the town of Vearra from here, from the window. You have no idea maybe the central estate of House Vearra is in Vearra. Maybe it's outside Vearra. Maybe it's somewhere between here, Vearra and Inderos. Maybe it's past Vearra. You don't know. But I'll tell you, you can't see the town of Vearra.
That's fair.
It's been completely destroyed.
You also can't see any suspicious columns of twisting eldritch black smoke on the horizon from any direction.
Okay.
Other than the many that are already in Inderos as part of everyday life.
I would say that even though there has been a lot going on in Inderos, I feel like a town 50 kilometers away being hit by a meteor, the news probably would have reached Inderos, I would imagine, by this point.
Why would it be hit by a meteor?
Or something catastrophic happening. I'd imagine the news, if it was like in a town, if it's like in a field somewhere, maybe not, but in a town, I would have imagined.
It's been 2 full days since the Starfall. There's
like town criers and stuff, right? There's people shouting the news on street corners.
Yeah, there's messengers, there's riders. It would definitely be I don't know if it'd be public knowledge, but it'd definitely be knowledge. Yeah. So, just to really quickly recap, we've got a loose thread of the mysterious guy, Karvosti, in love with the Queen guy. We've got House Vearra stuff. The closest thing is their town,
house,
townhouse nearby. Or you could go roam around their lands, around their huge county, for a while. We've got your original purpose for being here, should you want to sack this off and delve into that. We've got
genuinely forgotten why we're here.
Yeah, we've got we've got Ganderald on the meeting, although he said he'd contact you when he was done with that. We've got there was something else. There
was the information that we got from the guy at the pub, that there may be a way into the ruins of the old city underneath the city.
Yeah, I think that's what I meant by your original purpose for being here. Yeah.
Oh, I thought our original purpose was something that Duke Inadar sent us for.
No, you were just to guard the. Yeah, we were just security on the boat coming in.
Yeah. All right.
We're on our own team now.
I don't know if we've discussed this, but one possible thread is
giants as well, which is a question mark. But what you do about that, I don't know.
The dwarf crime families clearly also have some connection to Artel.
Mm-hmm.
They're working with them in some way, and one of they've packed up shop somewhere and left. That's a possible avenue to Artel, or to information about Artel and what he's doing.
And you also know that if you do a job for Grimorio at the bathhouse, he might. I mean, what the information you did want is you don't need anymore. But hey, random side quests. Yeah.
So this is a bunch of leads, but I have to say that I'm a little stuck on how we follow any of them. The mysterious individual is dead. We found his letter. I don't know what more there is to do there. For the ceremony of magic and all of this kind of stuff, we're kind of waiting for Ganderald.
Yeah.
Vearra, we can go to the place in town. That feels like kind of the only thing that we can can actively try.
I mean, I would say that having a thing you could do doesn't gel with not having things you could do. It's just that there's one avenue. Well, there could be others. You could go to the Hall of Knights and try and find out more about House Vearra. There's any number of things you can do. I would also say that I don't think the mysterious guy is a dead end. You literally know that something interesting and remarkable about him, which is that he was living on Karvosti in what seemed like a semi-official capacity with the High Chieftain. Someone must know who he was.
Do we have some information where like Tharaban or no, the son was like staying or something.
I think
Something like that is ringing a bell.
there was some information. I think he was staying like at the palace.
Okay.
But some of his guards were staying somewhere else. But there's also like, if you want to know information, the place where you might go in the city is the Secretorium. If only people there owed you a favor.
I have a suggestion. I think I wouldn't mind going to check out the Noble Quarter and just take a walk past Arundari. Would you be able to tell me? I suppose you wouldn't have their address, but where the House Vearra
Aaron,
estate is.
Oh yeah,
it's probably it's certainly one of the biggest of the houses in the Noble District.
And I imagine like it's not uncommon for noble houses to have some kind of sign of like their house arms on a banner on the outside.
Their heraldry will be massively emblazoned on front of the gates.
Hedges shaped in the shape of their chosen animal, kind of thing. Yeah.
So I'm suggesting.
Go ahead, Steve.
I'm suggesting this not under the interests of going and knocking on their doors. I'm suggesting this based on a model I'm developing where maybe they were stitched up and maybe they have some good people who already know that we're looking into this. And maybe if we happen to walk past their estate, they'll give us a tap on the shoulder and we might be able to catch up with them. And if they just want to fight, we can do that as well. But I just think just going and taking a look might be a good idea.
Because we know things about their involvement in this, their supposed involvement in this extremely and literally explosive act against House Conor and against Ambria. It will be interesting to see whether their response is to immediately silence us or to realise that right now the fact that we have this knowledge and haven't shared it constitutes a bargaining chip of some sort.
Or that we're their best effort to clear their name because they've been stitched up.
I'm going to do the thing I very occasionally do, where I put my foot down slightly and say, we are now in the territory of planning about speculative events, rather than any kind of like firm thing happening. And like, you could get the answer to this question quicker
by going to the place. Yep.
So yeah. Is that something? Are we splitting the party? Because we've got different things we could do. Are we splitting the party? Are we staying together and going?
What if we all go up there and then what if does anyone else have any suggestions before I just parrot Matt's lines back to him?
Let's go for a walk. We can't push Ganderald. I don't see anything else that we can do in the city right now. Let's do it.
I think of other things that we could do, but I think maybe following up on the House Vearra is the closest.
And it might be best for us to do that together.
We go to House Vearra and then afterwards we call into the Secretariat and see if anyone owes us a favor yet. And if not, whichever. All these fancy names for nonsense. The office with nerds in it. And then if there's nothing there, at least we can ask, like, who has the ability to send envoys to Carvosti? What was your man doing on the hill?
I mean, number one on that is the Secretorium.
We also don't know if he was an official envoy.
No.
Yeah, let's go find out.
We could also just go and ask some questions at Zoltar's Tavern, that's the other way.
People there might know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Come on, let's go.
Let's go. Okay. So you walk through the streets of Indaros again. It's probably about, because I think you basically got up at dawn to take Kalfar to the Secretorium, right? So it's probably around noon now, I'd say, something like that. You proceed through the streets until you reach the noble district, and immediately you notice that there are a lot of guards around here. Those of you who are only visitors, maybe you think this is normal. Arendar, it is not. There are usually guards around the noble estates in the temple district, but this is more than usual. So the entire of the noble area of the temple district has a wall around it. And there are 6-man patrols at regular intervals all the way along the entire wall as you're walking up it towards kind of the gates to the interior. It's it's a gated what's the term? A gated estate, a gated
community.
Gated community, essentially. Yeah. And at the gate itself, there are a good 30 or so guards. They're all wearing the livery of Inderos, but their uniforms denote them. They're not city watch, but they are kind of like official representatives of the city. But they are a small army of guards dedicated to protecting the noble district, essentially. They are letting people in and out, but like it was at the palace, they do seem to be talking and kind of asking people who are going in certain things. And as you approach, you see at least one person be kind of turned away. So it's a similar situation to how it was in front of the palace. At the head, right at the gates, there is an individual wearing the livery of a Ambrian general, who is seems to be very friendly about talking to people and kind of looking over things. He's maybe in his 50s or so. Yeah.
I think I'll kind of give Aaron a nudge and say, you should probably use the paperwork, Aaron.
Yes. Out of curiosity, how much security am I used to there being here? How much of a ramp up is this?
There'd usually be guards at this gate, and they'd usually be keeping out ne'er-do-wells, but not 30 of them. And there'd be guard groups of 2, just patrolling around the walls, maybe a couple of them. But this is, it's a big ramp up.
Okay. Yeah, I will step forward and try and greet the man in the general outfit.
As you approach, he kind of he's basically watching the people passing by, some of them looking over curiously. And as soon as someone kind of actually emerges from the general movement of people, he kind of takes a step forward, and he's kind of got his hands behind his back in almost like a formal standing way, and he gives you a crisp nod and says, good day, young man.
Good afternoon, sir.
I am General Sarion Patio. I am in command of the guard here in the Temporal District. What is your business inside here? I assume you're approaching for access?
I am. My name is Arendar. My companions and I have been tasked with matters by the Kohenor family, and if it is agreeable to you, we would like entrance to look for trouble, to make sure there is none, not to cause it, sir, of course.
Of course.
I will.
Have you any paperwork, or?
I will show him the seal.
Well, that seems to be all in order, Sadar. Please do. You look like a well-armed group. Please do ensure that you keep the peace rather than rile it?
I will ensure everyone is in their best behavior, General. If I may ask, this is an unusually large presence, isn't it? Is this because of the cathedral, or...?
It's been a dangerous couple of days in the city, Sadar.
Well, that's true.
The city and the lords and ladies here want to ensure that trouble does not spread to their estates, upon which I am sure you are aware all kinds of interesting and valuable items might be found.
Of course. Has there been any trouble yet?
Not so far.
Good.
Please.
Thank you, General. I'll wave everyone in.
Okay. He watches you all go in one by one, probably paying a little more attention to the less reputable looking individuals of the group. Just probably Ascarai and Steo, perhaps, now that Elindra no longer has a massively torn tabard. Not that Steo looks particularly disreputable, I suppose, but
just a little bit too well armed.
Steo does everything he can to not look like a member of the city guard.
He's got good expensive armor and a polished, fancy-looking spear. So maybe he doesn't look. Depends how often he washes and combs his hair and stuff, I suppose. But, yeah. Okay, you find yourself on a leafy, well-kept avenue, along which are large, multi-storied villas on equally large plots of land. There are less people here on the streets than there were outside, and the people there are, the overwhelming majority of them look like servants, scattered with a few guards, scattered with even fewer people in very fancy clothing who look at you with a mixture of curiosity and slight wariness as they probably cross over to the other side of the avenue from where you are.
I think I will lead everyone on a slow walk that takes us past the Vearra compound. Trying not to stop outside the Vearra compound for too long.
Okay.
Like, we're not trying to look like we're looking at it. Just
absolutely. Although that's a fine plan. Let's see if it survives contact with when you arrive at the Vearra estate.
That's fair.
So, you wander along for not too much of an amount of time. The Vearra villa is quite close to the gate. Maybe you only have to turn down a couple of other streets. And you, as soon as you turn onto the avenue with the Vearra villa, you notice a small crowd outside the gate of the fence to the villa. Around 20 people standing around, talking, seem to be occasionally throwing anxious glances at the residents. Most of them seem to be kind of like more senior servants. But there are a couple of just what look like idle young nobles as well. Kind of boys and girls of like kind of teenagers, who are just curious about something. Maybe just curious about the fact that people are curious about it. But yeah, they're kind of stood around murmuring to each other.
I have a boon that I haven't used that's right in the very beginning. About contacts within my chosen demographic. And my chosen demographic is noble houses.
Okay.
Considering my backstory, can I roll to see if I recognize any of possibly the servants who are there?
Sure, yeah.
Okay. So it says a roll against persuasive.
I'm rooting for you.
4 under 11.
4 under 11. Well then, you do recognize someone. You reckon when you knew her, she was a maid at one of the noble. You know, you said that when you first arrived in the city, you and your mother and your cousin stayed with like various sympathetic nobles.
My cousin wasn't with us, but yes.
I thought he was, and then he left and never came back.
My cousin, as in Elle's character,
yes,
I didn't know that she'd crossed the Titans until Steo told me about her corpse.
Oh yeah, because they crossed the Titans. Yeah, never mind. Okay, you and your mother then.
But yes,
the point remains. She was a maid at one of these houses that briefly took you in. She now looks to have gone up in the world and is kind of like a more senior servant, or maybe just like a head chambermaid or something like that. She's dressed very nicely, but you do recognize her. Her name is Ala.
Ala.
Mm-hmm.
I will sort of put myself in the crowd near her and say, Ala, is that you?
Aye, it's me. What? Young Aaron.
Ala, how have you been? You look like you're doing well.
I have been, young sir. I had not heard that. I heard about your mother. I was sorry to hear she'd gone through so much.
Thank you.
You seem to be doing moderately well for yourself as well.
I went to Thistlehold and joined an adventuring guild.
And with an interesting... I shouldn't pet him, should I?
No, he's been fed. I think you can pet him if you like.
She kind of vaguely waves a hand near Farron, and he kind of... and then goes on to examining his surroundings. Oh, well, how strange to find you here. At the strangest of times as well.
Yeah, what? That's not usually a crowd outside. It's Vearra, isn't it?
It is House Vearra, aye. Well, this sounds stupid, but just this morning, there were, well, it sounds very stupid now to come. There was a pigeon, you know, a homing pigeon.
With a message?
It fell dead 100 meters from here, down there. The message, it had the Vearra stamp. It fell right in front of two youngsters. They're somewhere around here. I haven't seen it, but they said it was grotesque. Head feathers replaced by little horns. Boils on its body, eyes as black as tar. There was some kind of foreboding message on it. They handed the pigeon and the message over to the Countess. And word got round. Curiosity followed it, I suppose. I can't talk, I'm here.
I don't suppose they had any idea whether it was coming or going, do they?
It seemed to be addressed to the Countess. I doubt she would send a message to herself from the villa.
Yes, very good point. Which two was it?
Oh, you're one of them. She grabs a slightly waif-like servant boy and kind of yanks him by his collar over. He turns around and goes, Mistress Arla, what? That hurts. Not very much.
Good afternoon, lad.
You be good. This is a knight. Yes, sir. What do you want?
Could you tell me about your morning? The bit with the pigeon specifically.
We heard it. Its wings, they didn't sound right. And it was making this awful gurgling noise. Then it came down right in front of us. We didn't want to touch it at first. They were all horrible. Boils, all pus coming out of it and that. So then there was this message on it. And my friend, not me, I didn't open the message. He opened the message.
Of course.
It said, my words ain't that good, sir. It said help. It said something about an estate under attack. And it said something about everyone dying. And it said this thing. I remember it. I remember it almost exactly. It said Count Dimitro, lost in the eternal night.
Does the name Count Dimitro...
Count Dimitro Vearra is the head of House Vearra.
Right.
So then we were good as anything, sir. We got the pigeon, we picked it up, wrapped it in a sack, and we took it to the Countess.
That's very responsible of you.
And the guard on the gate, he gave us a penny.
Well, I think for that you deserve a second one. And I'll slip him a penny.
Oh, thank you, sir.
Share that with the other one.
Share that single lowest denominator coin with...
I mean, there were 2 pennies involved.
Sure.
They can have one each.
Sure.
Has anyone spoken to the guard?
I don't think since... Not since we handed the pigeon over.
And I don't suppose since you've been standing here, you've seen anything inside? Anyone moving about? Anyone at stables?
Don't think so, sir. No one's left.
Well, good work.
He wriggles free and disappears quickly in the small crowd.
I think I need to go talk to my friends. But thank you. Arla, where are you working these days? If I need to...
God, John.
You don't have to... You can make one up.
She still works for the same noble house that you...
Cool. The
if we
Barrymores.
want, if we want... No, Barrymore is a first name.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, we can make it up later. It doesn't matter
we
right
don't.
now. Don't put me on the spot. What am I, a GM?
Right, I'll yeah. Thank her. Tell her to keep herself safe. Head back over.
Yeah, you say your farewells.
Well, there's been a very odd morning. What seemed like a blighted homing pigeon was found in the street with a message addressed to the Countess saying that the estate is under attack and that Count Dimitro has been lost to the eternal night. So I'm wondering if Steo's thought about the ceremony site might have been fairly accurate.
It sounds ceremony site, doesn't it? And it sounds like Vearra involvement. And it sounds a convenient distance away from the city. It seems to me that either we tried to go to speak to that guard on the gate and perhaps find a way to offer our services to the family to help, Or perhaps we take it upon ourselves to do that ourselves. But either way, I think we're going out there, aren't we?
As you are saying this, the gates open, and a couple of guards in Vearra liveries come out. One of them is a large, bluff-looking guy with kind of a very neatly trimmed but large beard. And he kind of steps out and says, "All right, this has gone on long enough. We've got the pigeon. You saw the pigeon. There's trouble out at the estate. I'll only say this once. If any of you are here to help, then we'll talk to you. If you're not, then fuck off." And that's from the Countess, although she used nicer words than I do.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Well, all the people dressed as servants start to melt away. There's a couple of like those young nobles who are sort of like, getting a bit, puffing their chests out a bit about it, until the guard kind of like levels them with like a well trained, long, earned look of disdain, and they kind of start to like, I wasn't interested anyway, and meander off.
I could do something about it if I wanted to.
There are a couple of like older teenage boys who are sort of like talking between themselves, like, "Oh, should we, perhaps we could go." They're pondering whether to go out on some kind of like adventurous offer of aid. Given your conversation, I
will step forward.
Yeah. Do you know how to use that sword?
I do. What? Well, 2 of the 3.
Well, you seem like a well-armed group. What brings you here?
I don't think it really matters right now.
How do I know you're not just some group of ruffians?
Well, the guards let us through the gate.
They did. Why?
Because they didn't think we were ruffians.
Come on. Tell me. I'm not just going to show anyone through to see the Countess. Who are you working for?
We're, largely working for ourselves, sir. We're an adventuring group. If you have any news from Thistlehold, you may know us as the heroes of the Sinkhole.
Don't know nothing from Thistlehold. You're in Inderos now. He doesn't seem like he's just going to let random people through. I mean, you can make a persuasive roll if you want.
Yeah, I'm going to try that.
I'll weight it with how likely I think your arguments are. Take a plus. You're offering to help. He asked for help. Take a +2.
I'm going to spend an XP and re-roll that.
Okay.
That is a success, not a 20. My first roll was a 20.
Mm-hmm. All right. He yells through the gate, and about 10 other guards basically emerge and says, "All right, I'll let you in to talk to her. Any funny business and these blades go in your back, all right?"
Understandable, sir.
You are basically not frog marched, but certainly marched and under guard through the rather luxurious gardens, large gardens of the villa up to the 3-story building itself. It's built in kind of the old Albertorian style, which I've always had in my head that the Albertorian style is a bit more maybe Hellenic than the more overtly quote unquote Western medieval. You know what? Actually, I don't think Ambria is West. I think parts of it look Western medieval, but I think an awful lot of it, including Inderos, maybe looks more kind of Byzantine. A little bit, a lot of domes and like circular towers and things like that. But anyway, it's like a confluence of those things. But maybe Arberitor was more a bit Hellenic. There's more pillars, you know. There's more large fronts to the houses. You're shown into a one of the guards has kind of run ahead, and you are shown into a kind of reception room. It's basically the hallway. Where there is some seating available, and you can kind of look around and see the various expensive portraits and busts and furniture and artifacts that kind of like litter the room. The guards kind of show you to some long couches, and all kind of stand behind you with their hands on their weapons in a large row. So you're very guarded. As one might imagine.
With the greatest of respect, Sir Dar, I'm not going to sit down on these good couches. I reckon I'll ruin them with this plate.
Are we volunteering? Well, offering paid services to help? Is that our plan?
I think so.
I think there are a number of things that we want to know, and the leads are pointing us in the direction that these fine folks would like us to go anyway. So I think we help.
Yeah.
And perhaps don't say too much about who we're working for.
Yeah.
Aaron managed to avoid.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Well done, Aaron.
Okay. A few moments later, a kind of larger, quite tall and quite large and broad as well, woman in relatively plain, noble attire, with her hair, like dark hair, tied up in a quite a severe bun for an aristocrat, kind of comes into the room from a side chamber, and turns and says, "Well, my thanks, Captain Hadar. Who are our guests?" She looks she looks as if she's maybe been crying, and looks very kind of tense and stressed. The captain takes a step forward and says, "Some adventurers offering help, ma'am. They call themselves the heroes of the sinkhole. Didn't mean nothing to me." Countess Vearra goes, "Well, I do not blame you for that, good captain. We are a long way from Thistlehold, but I certainly have heard of the exploits of these individuals. If you are indeed they, I'm sorry, I do not mean to be impolite. I have no way of..." "You wish to help House Vearra?"
Yes, I would have stood as she entered. Yes, Countess, we hear there is some trouble.
Yes. Well, I shall endeavor to give you as much as I know. My husband sent us away from the estate over a week ago, saying that we should be in Inderos to prepare this residence for the upcoming wedding festivities. Lately, he has been gloomier and more withdrawn than usual. He's not a joyous man. Likely due to the wedding. It's no secret that House Kohinoor and ours have been at odds for decades longer. Corinthia's alliance with the barbarians is good for Ambria, but perhaps not something which my husband can rejoice in. He also has been spending more and more time with an unpleasant fellow, older, imposing. He dresses in simple garb, but there's something in his eyes, something wild. I have only seen him at a middle distance, I confess, and have not been allowed to meet him. But he seemed to have spent many nights at the estate, perhaps even lived there in my mother's old cottage. When I asked my husband, he referred to this man as his friend and teacher. Then, on the morning of the day when I and my son Heredo left the estate, Count Edgar Brigo arrived. A friend, I suppose, of my husband. He seemed stressed. He only greeted us briefly and said he would see us the day before the wedding. And that is the last I knew. Obviously, events in the city over the last couple of days have distracted me, but the pigeon that arrived outside, it was the second. Another arrived here successfully maybe half an hour before. It made it all the way to the dovecote and was less grotesque than the one that died, but it still had red eyes and deformed legs and talons. Both notes had the same message. She rummages in a kind of pockets of her quite functional long dress and passes you a scrap of paper that is slightly blackened at the edges and has quite desperate, poorly scrawled message on it. It says, "The eternal night has taken Vearra. Count Dimitro is missing, may be dead. Send soldiers and priests, all of them, now." I have sent word to Colonel Esmunda at the Vearra garrison, which is near the estate, asking her to send troops, but almost the entire garrison has been dispatched north to Carvosti. The ones who remain have no experience of... Please, save my husband. Anything in my power to deliver to you will be yours.
My lady, the opening words, the eternal night, does this mean anything to you?
Not precisely. It should be noted the eternal light is kind of like a relatively common Ambrian term. Well, not, you suspect it's not Ambrian in origin. You suspect it's maybe Iron Sworn in origin. You've definitely heard the eternal light used as a term for like corruption and darkness in general, and like it would have been used quite a bit during the war,
right?
But also it's used, similar terms are used by like the elves and the Iron Pact, and you know.
I thought I had heard the Templars and Knights of Prios in some of their writings refer to the Eternal Night as like the thing that killed Prios.
Yes.
Or an aspect of that.
Bang on. That if we've heard it anywhere in the campaign before, that will have been where we heard it.
Right.
But I think we may have heard it in other places as well. But 100%. Now that you say it, 100%, it was. Yeah. You would of course be furnished with a map to the estate. It is no more than 25 kilometers away, and you would be furnished with horses. Good, very good horses.
That would be very helpful. Does the name Edgar Brigo ring a bell to me? Like, is that familiar?
No, not particularly. House Brigo is a large noble house, but no, not especially. I mean, that his account means that he's the head, or at least nominal head of House Brigo. But otherwise, it doesn't leap out, no.
Okay. Do you think it's possible that Count Brigo may still be there?
I do not know, in all honesty, and obviously, if anyone is quite impetuous and callous of me, if you can save anyone, not just my husband, but I do not know.
Of course.
All I can tell you is that Count Brigo was there when I left.
Well, I think time may be somewhat of the essence. Do we have any further questions to ask? Well, we have the Countess's here.
Did you notice any?
We have had a busy few days.
Okay. Let's have Sam first.
Did you notice any more members of the Order Magica around or mages around before you left?
I don't think so, no. That would have been quite unusual.
Okay.
Chris?
My lady, we have had a difficult few days given the tumult in the city. I don't suppose your house healer could look over my my two companions here. I think Elindra's with us now, isn't she? We don't have any reason not to bring her with us.
Elindra's here. I think Revelia is still back at the tower with the prisoners.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Okay.
We actually at the estate have a fine theurg. Captain, send for the father, will you? Yes. I imagine it has been a busy few days in the city for individuals with your occupation.
It has been, and I very much appreciate the help in helping me to help you.
Before long, I don't want to dwell on it too much, but before long, a theurg arrives who has kind of the usual robes, but also like a symbol of House Vearra hanging round his neck alongside the kind of sun god's icon. And let's just give you a lay on hands, shall we? So anyone who wants it, anyone who wants it can have a D12 worth of toughness restored.
I rolled a 2.
I rolled a 10, which I didn't need that much.
I also rolled a 10, which is a lot more. I would cover. If I was dead, that would heal me to full.
What are you
Good
on?
job, everyone except Elindra.
Yeah, what is Elindra on out of interest?
She is on 10 toughness out of a maximum of 20. Okay. So she is a as damage sponges go, she is a damp one.
Mm.
That's a visual image I'm not going to use again.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't refer to your character as damp.
Nice.
Okay, well, it is what it is, right?
It is, as you say, what it is. Okay.
Then perhaps if we make our way as the forward guard, if you could alert any of House Brigo that are here in the city and perhaps send word to the temple, maybe we can organize some sort of reinforcement party behind us.
What temple are you referring to, John?
The Sun Temple, if there are any priests
Sure.
that aren't panicking about rocks falling from the sky.
Sure. You think this will probably be the last thing, but sure.
Mm-hmm.
Countess Vearra says, "Of course, whatever may help. I will have messages sent at once."
Thank you.
Captain, if you could see these fine individuals outside, please provide them with our fastest horses and any supplies you feel they might need. Captain kind of looks over at all of you for a second, kind of nods and says, "All right. Yes, of course, Countess." The Countess bids you all farewell, each individually, and then walks off through the door she came in with. The Captain Haydar kind of encourages you all outside of the estate over to where the stables are, and kind of there's a bit of a hubbub for the next maybe 10 or 15 minutes as they prep the horses, put some supplies on there, and you're all kind of like taken over to the gates, granted kind of a horse each. Can Ferrin ride a horse? Did we decide this?
I think he can sit in front of me, I think.
Yeah, let's go with it.
Yeah. He just doesn't like it, but
yeah. And kind of Haydar kind of gives you each the reins of the horses and says, "Now, I've put some food, some drink, some herbal cures, and even a couple of antidotes in each of those saddlebags. All right? Here's a map to the estate. You're the fancy talker, so you have it." He passes it to Arendar.
Thank you.
Now, my Countess has placed trust in you. If these fine horses go missing alongside you, and every single one of you isn't found dead on that estate, I don't need to say the rest, do I?
We understand perfectly, sir.
All right. Then off you go. And Prios willing, you'll bring back my count safe and sound, won't you?
Yes, sir. Hope to speak to you again soon.
Aye. That'd be a fine thing. Prios, watch over you. He stands back and waves you out of the gate.
And away we'll ride.
I just want to clock a look on the face of the guard to the noble compound as we leave on significantly more horse than we went in with.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's important for him to know. I will sort of rein up alongside him and give him a very brief rundown of what is happening.
Mm-hmm.
No, it might be important.
It seems wise.
Yeah,
and you came in here obviously not nobles and now leaving with a bunch of horses. Like, yeah. No, it seems very wise.
Is Aaron also gonna like see if any of these guards can be like persuaded to come and assist?
Oh, that's not a bad shout. I might as well ask.
It feels like a thing where we want to get the word out to try to get numbers, right? If we could.
I'm guessing because they hinder us guard, they probably won't, but I'll ask the general.
The general seems pleased that you told him and kept him up to date, but sadly shakes his head and says, I'm sorry, Sadar. All of my men are needed here to guard the noble district. More so than that, I would have to seek. I would have to seek permission to do so from my superiors and from the Hall of Knights.
Understandable.
But I will tell you this, if orders do come down, I'll be there as fast as I can.
I will keep an eye out for you, General.
Good luck with it.
And I'll ride off.
Okay. I take it we are riding for the west gate of Indaros and then onward through the countryside. Okay. The Vearra estate is about almost halfway between the town of Vearra and Indaros. It is, from the map, it is directly on the river. And you're going to have to ride for a significant amount of time to get there. Although they're well-trodden roads, so the conditions should be fairly good. We are now, I believe, we're kind of crossing over into we're in autumn, right? We're in kind of like mid to late autumn, but it's been a relatively balmy one so far. The weather has treated you fairly kindly, but as you get closer and closer to the estate, the conditions do get worse. There is sludgy mud underfoot. And as the third hour of travel passes, you notice the temperature begin to drop, clouds gathering in the sky, and half an hour later, actually, it'll be before that. It'll be about halfway through the journey, so it'll be about 2 hours when the temperature drops and the clouds gather. And that is also around the time you start encountering people on a regular basis coming the other way. You've passed lots of people while you've gone, but these are lots of people all traveling east and kind of like with relative frequency. First, there are a few lone riders. Then there are wagons full of people, farmers, landowners, followed by servants on foot. Lots of them seem in a hurry, and lots of them seem far too much in a hurry to even greet you. But of course, you can force an interaction should you want.
I'm going to do it. I am going to put on the sergeant voice and pick on maybe one of the more organized ones and go, "You there, what news from the road ahead? We ride to meet this cataclysm."
I ain't going to stop, sir. Not even for someone in fine armor and a spear like you. If you want to talk to us, you got to follow our wagon.
I'll kind of loop
so the wagon is kind of going past you as he's talking about that. But it's, it's just walking along. It's not fast.
Yeah, I'll loop around and kind of pull up to him and go, "Tell me what you fought. What are they facing?"
Well, I didn't fight nothing, sir. It was a few hours after dawn. 2 of our horses had turned into monsters. Real monsters, sir. They started attacking the other horses, stomping, biting, tearing them apart. Our homestead is near the Count's seat. The paddock lies near the border wall. Something happened in there. Something terrible. I didn't get a good look. I just wanted to flee with my family, sir. But it was black in there. The ground, the trees, everything. Like a fire, but there were none to be seen. I'm getting gone, and if there's anything of Prios watching over you, you will too.
No, we got work to do. Good luck. Good luck in the west. You might need it.
He mutters some kind of similar sentiment, and the wagon canters onwards.
I'll catch up with the group. Okay, this is considerable corruption. Livestock transformed, corrupted. The land blackened, like in the old country. It's going to be rough.
We found our ceremony.
Do we have any of the good water, the dusk water? Do we have any of it left at all?
I think so.
I'm not so sure about that.
Anton should have it, right? I think.
Anton was the water keeper.
Yeah.
On his sheet, he has 4 uses left that I have.
Yeah, I don't know how up to date that's been kept though.
I think we begrudgingly used one in the cathedral.
I think so too. Let's call it 3. We'll call it 3. Anton, as he's riding alongside you, Alindra, is literally going to reach into his saddlebag, draw out the water of the dusk, and proffer it towards you, and says, I think the time may have come to stop drinking this after the blade goes in.
I just want to raise that that's the only way that we have that might be able to pull back a duke from corruption.
And there are a couple of drafts left after.
Okay.
I think we have a better chance of recovering the Duke if Alindra is not walking wounded.
And also a better chance of Alindra getting out of there alive, which I'd rather than rescuing some Duke.
That is also true.
Under any other circumstance, I would turn this down, but I think we've seen enough to have some idea what we're about to go into. So, thank you, Father.
And you know, when the GM's proxy is saying maybe you should heal.
Yeah. What is it? Is Water of the Dust just a full recover, or what is it?
I think it's a D10, isn't it?
D10. Okay.
This is like in an RPG when you're about to go to a special area and the game is like, have you saved?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I rolled a 7, so Lindra's up to 17 of a possible 20, which I think is pretty respectable.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure it's a D10. I'll probably have it in my campaign book. I'm
99% sure, Matt, in fairness, because I was drinking this stuff like milkshake back in the day.
Yeah.
Back in the Iron Crown.
Yeah. Oh, I know where it'll be. It'll be in not Iron Crown, Copper Crown.
Mm-hmm.
1 second. I'm paranoid about it now, so I'm going to double check. Because I wouldn't want to give you too much, you know?
Heaven forbid.
Heaven.
Like, you know, for a fact, this is going to be referenced on like 1 page of the source book, like 6 adventures ago.
Yeah, I think also Matt's put it into a spreadsheet cell somewhere that he's able to navigate to like a shot.
Oh, you say that.
Yeah. I'm talking you up now.
Can't believe you would set him up like that. Oh my god.
I'm pretty sure.
I almost feel bad.
Bizarrely, it's not in the like the Blight Knight thing, but that's where we get it from, right? Because we get it from the the well at Jackad's Heart. I'm almost certain it's a D10.
Sure, you're literally the GM, Matt. So if you say it's a D10, it's a D10.
It's true. But consistency.
Sure.
As you kind of carry on in your journey, about an hour later, snow begins to fall. It's not really settling here, but the closer you get, the more you see that some snow has settled already on the landscape. A landscape increasingly occupied by partially blackened pine trees and discolored moss. At one instance, when you feel you are getting even closer, two things happen in close proximity. One is that your horses pass a what was a you know what? I'm actually, because I wince a bit at this, so I'm actually going to say mild content warning for people. This is an unpleasant thing that's happened to an animal. So skip forward maybe 20, 30 seconds if you don't want to hear about that. The remains of a dead dog on the side of the road, who appears to have been pregnant, but whatever she was pregnant with has boiled and erupted out of her, leaving the remains a bloody mess. Secondly, could I have a vigilant test from Alindra, please?
That is a fail. I needed a 10, I got a 14.
Are you sorry, you paused there. I didn't know if you were pondering XP spend.
I was thinking about it, but I think I'm going to need those XP for whatever's going to come next. So
sure,
I think she's going to fail that one.
Sure. The increasingly blackened land opens up a little bit, albeit covered with a sheet of bright white snow. Could everyone give me a vigilant roll, please?
I failed that one too.
Made that one.
Chris, you apparently rolled 53.
Fair enough. Sorry, who said they'd succeeded?
I succeeded. I'm fascinated to know what Chris actually rolled.
I rolled a 3.
Okay. Your screen was showing 53.
Rolled a 5 and then a 3.
Okay.
It's sequencing the results.
Okay.
And ask right. Okay. The three of you notice on in some open wasteland, kind of just over and across from the road where you are, there are about 10 youngsters, not like ranging in age between maybe 15-ish to 20-ish. They look like farm workers, kind of relatively strong and fit. They're all carrying hatchets, pitchforks. One has a sledgehammer. They are walking in the direction of the estate.
That looks promising. Do you reckon that's a local band?
I think it is, and I think they should perhaps not.
They're within. They've kind of looked kind of curiously over where you are and have kind of stopped to talk amongst themselves, presuming about whether to speak to you. But they are within calling distance.
They should either not or they should with us beside them. Come on.
I will, shout out as we ride up.
They kind of walk further towards the road and stop a bit away from it. A tall, very broad girl kind of stands forward, maybe 18 or so. She's the one with the sledgehammer. Are you going to the estate?
We are?
To the Count's estate?
Yes.
Well, we are as well. We thought, winning the favor of the Count would be a fine thing. It seems like there's trouble.
Are any of you here gathered old enough to have fought in the war?
I mean, none of them are old enough to have been alive during the war. But all of them are under 25, so, and they just, about 25 years ago. 23, 25 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to tell you can't go. I'm going to tell you shouldn't. We're going to have a hard enough time there, and we've seen dozens of battles.
We can look after ourselves, mister. A couple of the ones near the back are looking at each other. Some of them are like 15, 16 years old. They have no armor, and they're not carrying... Like, none of these are actual weapons.
Look, none of us doubt your bravery. We can clearly see that you are willing to go, and none of us will doubt that. But we are advising that this may not be the way to win favor. This may not be a fight that can be won. It may be better for all of you to live another day and do something better tomorrow.
Or let us go first. Come in a few hours. If we haven't fixed it, it can't be fixed. And if we've nearly fixed it, we could probably use your help.
You may be able to help us carry injured out.
And we'll put in a good word for you.
You will?
Yes.
Anyone who runs towards this kind of thing are worthy of better armor than peasant scraps.
Lucina kind of like holds herself up and says, all right then, we'll come along here till we get to the estate gates, and we'll wait outside for you. And if you need us, we'll come running, or when you come out, we'll help you.
All right. But if any of you start to feel ill or take on any strange signs or anything, you leave. You understand? You turn around and you leave as quick as you can.
All right. A couple of them look like they're thinking about leaving right now. All right. Well, you'll get there faster than we will on them horses, so we'll just come as fast as we can.
We hope to see you there, all in good spirits. Better days ahead. Pray us protect us all.
There's a general murmuring among them to match your prayer. Are we heading on?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Before another 20 minutes, half an hour have passed, you see the Vearra estate ahead of you. There is a wall of, I think it's about 1.5 meters of stone that surrounds the estate. You're coming to it from a slight rise, so you can see this outer wall, stone wall. You can see in kind of like broadly the layout of the estate. As you're approaching it, there's a large woodland off to your left. There is a lake that runs off the river that's kind of further on from the estate, and there looks to be like a creek that runs out from that and kind of off to the right. Further into the estate, you can see the large kind of the actual central estate, and you can see a number of other buildings scattered about. You can also see rising above the rest of the buildings, sort of it looks to be before the main building, but scattered among the like within part of the woodland to the left as you're looking at it is what looks like it looks like a watchtower. It's like a large chamber, up. It's not a tower. It's like up on like a fire watch tower, right? That's up there. Yeah, the entire landscape is blasted and blackened with a covering of snow. The air above the estate is dark and roiling, and the further you get towards those gates and towards that outer wall, the more you feel like a rolling wave of something is coming off that estate and sliding between your molecules. We approaching the gate?
Yep.
Whatever we do here, we got to be quick.
And Tom kind of nods, and you can see that he's kind of like hunched over on the on his horse, kind of grasping his sun token in his hand. He nods and says, "The corruption here is manifest." The horses do not seem to want to approach any closer. As you get maybe within about 10 meters of the wall, they start shying away.
Get off.
Yes.
There is a small patch of kind of like scrubby pines nearby if you want to tie them up.
Yeah, let's hit them.
Okay. Take it we're going to walk up to that gate, which is open.
Yeah.
Against all our better judgment.
What did you say? Sorry, Ilindra?
Against all our better judgment, I think that's what we're going to do, yeah.
Okay. As you approach the wall, when you left the horses behind, there was nothing but silence. Quite an eerie silence, actually. And as you get closer and closer to the wall, there is a noise that starts low and then increases until your last few paces towards the wall and the gate, it rises hugely. Far too quick for you to kind of like really even react to it, other than maybe like brace yourselves or reach for your weapons or some whatever reaction you think to like a rising confusing noise would be. In the last few seconds before the chaos begins, you register that they are colossal and accelerating hooves slamming into the ground. And you know what? Just for fun, let's have let's have a cunning roll from everyone. And this is just for fun. It's not going to give you any real advantage. It's just for role-playing purposes.
What was it we were rolling against again?
Cunning. Can you give me it vocally? Sorry, I'm looking stuff up.
Fail.
Pass.
Fail.
Fail for Asprey, but pass for Anton.
Okay. Well, obviously, we can't know the inner workings of Anton, but only Arendar, amongst the other of you, registers that it sounds like a hoofed animal coming running as fast as it can towards the other side, directly the other side of the wall from where you are. You're not even at the gate yet. But all of you quickly find out that Aaron's supposition is correct, as an enormous 2-meter tall, well, it was a bull. Its horns have branched out and grown almost a meter long. Its skin is torn, once proud and magnificent, now blackened fur covered in pus and blood as it crashes through the stone wall and in and amongst you before you can do anything. And I'd like to start the next session with introducing you to a new trait that a monster can have called Rampage, and we'll have fun with that. So there we go. That's the session. Thank you to my wonderful players. Thank you to everyone for watching and participating. Write stuff in chat, questions or comments. If you want us to address them, we will momentarily. First, a reminder about what's going on the channel. Symbaroum is coming back to a mostly weekly format, with the exception of Yellow King weeks. That includes next week, confusingly. So there we go. So every time we run Yellow King on a Thursday, we won't run Symbaroum on a Wednesday, because Sam and I have to not do 2 a week for our own sanity. So there we go. Yellow King the aim is it's coming back monthly. We'll see how that holds up, because it's a hell of a lot of work. But at the very least, it's on next week. I already have a story planned with a fun historical cameo in it. So what more can I say to lure people in than that? Mondays, Call of Cthulhu, Massive Nyarlathotep. The intention is weekly, but life gets in the way. And we should have a one-shot in June at some point. In fact, I can give you a current, vaguely working prediction. Should I even do that? Probably not. It's irresponsible. I think it will happen on Saturday, the 28th of June. And the system will be some kind of role-playing. The players, a group of humans. The GM will be me. So there we go. I don't know what it'll be. Maybe we'll do Electric State. I don't know. We were kind of planning on doing that. I've honestly got no idea. We'll see. Yeah.
Join our Discord to try and convince us to roleplay your favorite roleplay.
Do that. Do the thing. There's a Patreon revamp coming, if you didn't hear at the beginning of the thing. Keep your eye on Patreon. We're retooling it to be a lot more fun and interesting and actually give people bang for their buck. Yeah.
Sub note there, don't hold up much hope if your favorite system is D&D 5e. Just saying.
It's not going to be D&D 5e. Or 4e. Or 3e.
3.5 all the way. 3.5. Let's go.
3.5, 3, 2.5, 2, 1. It's not going to be any of those. It's not going to be.
You don't know anything about Dungeons and Dragons.
That's on purpose.
No. Isn't 2.5 advanced AD&D?
I thought advanced.
1.5.
I thought advanced was the other term for second edition.
I don't fucking. What am I, the D&D king?
Apparently not.
Comments, questions, please, John.
I mean, this one is from the beginning, but it's relevant to right now.
One thing you can say for sure, you don't get this on Critical Role from Steve. Does any of us remember what that was referring to?
That was...
It could be anything.
Just the general chaos.
Yes. Yes.
There was rhubarb. There wasn't rhubarb.
We were a podcast for a moment.
You could get it. You could get
a shoebox.
You could get it for Critical Role if one of their script writers wrote rhubarb in. Oh, shots fired!
I can't believe you're just restarting the weekly cadence and you're already casting beef.
It's not beef. People enjoy what they enjoy for the thing it is. It's fine.
Next thing you're going to say is that wrestling's fake.
If it's not, I've wasted an awful amount of time reading about the wrestling industry. Surprise! It was real all along.
Considering the context of the episode, I'm glad this one didn't come to pass.
Black Donuts, glad you're back. I'm finally all caught up. Sadly, I never have the time to watch you live. I guess I'll discover if Barrymore makes it back with a grand entrance in the VOD. Cheers. You will indeed find out if he does or not. I can guarantee that. You know what? There is a Barrymore related thing. There is a character in the lore broadly, who I don't know how much they're ever on screen. They're mentioned a few times in Darkest Star, but in a way where you might never encounter them or even hear the name. Right? It's like a bit of a throwaway thing. They're mentioned a few times. I don't know if in later installments that you meet them or whatever, but their first name is Barrymore. And it's not, your Barrymore, obviously.
The first name is Barrymore in the books, but definitely not in the game that you're running.
No, it will be. Yeah, it's just a name. It's like you've basically fixated on someone called James, right? And I'm not going to remove all the Jameses from Ambria just because you're like, oh, James, like our favorite character, James, like the meme joke.
We know James. We know James. We're best mates with James, and then we meet them.
I am a simulationist GM, and I will die on the hill of this stupidity.
To be fair, we haven't had a shortage of like Almendras and things, right? Like it's
true.
If it's what's in the book, I think from what I can understand so far, you just run with it. So
yeah, you've had 3 FNAs. So
yeah,
FNAs. That's what I'm thinking of. Yeah.
Today, a guy came up in the session called Eddie Guy or something like that, and I was like, "That name's familiar. Let me look at my notes." And it's like some like morgue assistant from like I don't know.
Oh yeah.
Years
from,
ago,
like, the Flayer, like the like serial killer thing. Yeah.
And for like 0.5 of a second, my mom was like, "How is that guy going to be related to our story? What's this conspiracy?" Like, I was like, no,
and like we've talked before about how they reuse a lot of names and have similar sounding names, but to be honest, there's a veracity in that because you look back in history and like people do all kinds of like I can't remember if I've said this on stream before. When I went to sixth form college, I don't know how much sixth form colleges are much of a known term outside our little corner of the world.
Junior and senior year to Americans.
Sure. When I went there were my school had a relatively small number of people in each year, and there were 30 boys in my year, and 10 of them were called Matt.
Yeah,
so crazy. It was and confusing.
I mean, even if you look at telling tales, we've got 2 Sams, 2 Matts, 2 Steves, 2 variations on John.
I'm Steve everywhere except on this channel where there is already a Steve Prime. So
yeah, see, we let Matt and Matt both be Matt, and we let Sam and Sam both be Sam, but you can't be Steve.
No.
There can be only one.
When Matt was on Call of Cthulhu, he was Matthew.
Oh.
To avoid confusion again. I don't know why we never did it. I don't know why we didn't make one of them Samuel.
I think I thought I was going to be on a lot more streams with Steve than I have been.
Yeah, it's just I don't even know if the Sams are Samuels. I think you'd just be Sam, right?
I am just Sam. Although I will say I did get given a crazy nickname to differentiate me from other Sam.
It's true.
When we first started hanging out.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we've referred to you both as Jojo and Shabadoo on stream before. Yeah. Anyway, next comment.
I also wanted to point out that Arla, who is the maid that we randomly met, Aaron's father's name is Arlen. So we've had an Arla and an Arlen.
And I just made that name up off the top of my head.
Yeah. I like this one.
Sam, I wanted Farron to get a little Shetland pony. Yeah.
And then
would you balance on it or sit astride it or maybe just dangle over it sideways? It would be strapped on it upside down.
That sounds awful for both the cat and the horse.
Or he would be strapped to the underside of it. So if he wanted, he could do a little when they put cats in exercise pools.
Yeah. So he can pretend he's running really fast.
Yeah.
I think you would want the point of it facing
the size.
You want the point of it facing away from the horse. Oops.
Yeah, exactly. I think the underside one just. Yeah.
Amazing.
Next. Steve, getting the feeling of a mutant year 0 hot zone. Yeah.
Yep.
I do want to I guess I elicited it with my comment about feeling like something sliding through you. I always really like it broadly, but specifically we've been to very few highly corrupted areas. But when I read about stuff like this, instantly my mind goes like radiation, or at least like the sensibility of it and the feeling of it. And whenever I think about that these days, my mind immediately goes to the amazing job they did on the Chernobyl miniseries of making the hot zone there feel like almost like dark magic or like something eldritch or something like that, right? In the sensibility of it's like you can't see anything, but your DNA is being fucking unspooled. Yeah. So yeah, that's that. Yeah, I'm glad that's how it came across. Next. Colorax7, what if Symbaroum is the favorite? And that's what you're asking for a one-shot for. Hey, it's not impossible that we do a Symbaroum one-shot. There's always stuff to do with Symbaroum. Although, my regular plug, if you are interested in an alternative Symbaroum, then probably relatively few people have gone to watch the Fetters of Stone miniseries that's on the channel. It's got its own playlist. It's part of our canon. It's just not part of the campaign. You can see where Arindar comes from, and you can see what happened to Shuglad, the goblin from Blight Knight. Everyone remembers him, right? Yeah. It's good.
Yeah. I'd
say it's literally one of the best Symbaroum things we've done. And I'm not just saying that because I wrote it. Yeah, you'd also get to see me run a Symbaroum thing that I wrote, which is different, unusual. Yeah, that's not what you were asking about, but I'll plug that anyway. Yeah. Next.
We also have a final parting comment from Steve.
Steve, because I was first. Yeah, that is he was the first Steve. So he's Steve Prime.
Yes.
That is the rules. I also like to think he's the best Steve.
Oh, that's nice of you to say.
Yeah.
We did have a vote. We did have a vote, but I won't publicly reveal the results of it as to who is the best.
I deep down I know.
Yeah,
it's fine.
It's actually just Steve Carell, almost unanimous voting. Going on the channel, but them's the breaks. All right,
he's not on the channel yet.
Steve. We know you're out there. Okay, cool. Well, thanks for watching, folks. We'll be back with Symbaroum in a couple of weeks. In the meantime, Call of Cthulhu and Yellow King next week. Check those out. Take care. Stay safe. We'll see you soon. Goodbye.